did these states come into being? Well, they were really to the center. They were central to the organization of the first civilizations. There had to be somebody there to organize. Frequently it was by consent, just as frequently it was by coercion. We would like for you to do this because civilization is far enough that you don't go back. We need to organize irrigation systems. There's going to be conflicts as we start gathering people up in tighter areas, more and more people. And we're also going to need to defend ourselves. Because this is when we really start seeing the first warfare. And we got all this stuff that we really like, and it's really nice, and the guy next door, he might want some of it, he might come and try and take it from us. There has been a long-standing theory that almost all civilizations, all these primary concern was with defense and warfare. Being a people person, I'm okay with that. So maybe that's one of the reasons that I really jumped on it. We have been making some discoveries lately in a number of different areas around the world. One of them is certainly, it is on the coast of Peru. They have discovered a huge sediment there. That is what they call a mother city. You really know what that means? Here's the deal. Archaeologists, the reason they got a problem is there's a reason why cities get built where they are. Most of the time it's transportation or something like that. But there's a reason. A reason. Although Pueblo is because it's the confluence of two rivers. Water plus transportation, education. Chicago certainly because it's Chicago and Detroit because they're right in the grade line. If you go on to what is Highway 54, it runs exactly a 45-degree angle. It runs up to Kansas, goes down to the Oklahoma Panhandle, goes down into the Texas Panhandle, and eventually ends up in Mexico. It is straight as an arrow. Having done my undergraduate work down there, my first thought was, what in God's name, we really do a job here. No water to speak of. I actually got Lake Optima. Oh, gee, thanks for that Lake Optima. It's one of my favorite stories. The Oklahoma Panhandle is probably not known for its scenic wonders. It's recreational possibilities. And so the people of Texas County, which is the center county, they went to the Corps of Engineers and they said, we would like to help us build a dam or a reservoir. So we have more water, and we would have recreation and all of that. And so it got approved. Then the feds and Oklahoma State got messing around with it. They finally got to figure out where they were going to build a dam, where it was going to be. And the main tributary going into it would be the river. And they started building the dam. However, grazing had caused the Beaver River to change its course. And they got the dam built, complete with locks and everything else. And somebody looked up and said, the river's over there. And when I first moved down there, I said, oh, we got to go see this. lake. I mean, it shows the Scribner's Lake on the map. We're driving around with Scribner's Lake. It doesn't exist. Finally, a few years ago, they tore down the dam because it was too embarrassing. Anyway, back to my favorite road, Highway 54. Straight as an arrow. And we drive down there, and to this day, there is a town almost exactly every 10 miles. There are a few where you have to go 20. Because there's a town missing. But there is a town every 10 miles. Now, why on earth did that happen?
So that people could, they were traveling by horse or wagon. No?
Remember, it's straight as an arrow. And it goes up from, well, it goes through Liberal and then it goes up to Dodge. What is it, Dodge? That was the railhead for different Catalese. And it goes down into the Texas Panhandle. That was where the original Kansas Pacific ran. Why a town every 10 miles? Because that's as far as you can get with those old woodburns, where it stopped for fuel and water. So, you take out Liberal, you go Liberal, excellent. My point is that there's a reason for where most every town is. Therefore, when archaeologists find what they call a mother city, it's a godsend, because what happens as the civilizations rise and fall, new cities, old cities are destroyed, and new cities are built right in the same place, destroying all that wonderful evidence. A mother city is a city that's never been built on. So when archaeologists find a mother city, well, they're extinct evidence. It just doesn't make it better. And I think the first one they found was that showed this evidence was down at True Valley. They found all kinds of where they found these cities, and guess what? They don't even have any defenses. They don't even have any defenses. And so historians, anthropologists, and archaeologists are finally beginning to realize that, a lot of these civilizations grew up not for protection, not for warfare, not for militarism, but for trade. One of the older civilizations that didn't become militaristic until later days was the Phoenicians. Of course, later on, when Rome was rising, they had militarized. But for centuries, they were one of the dominant players in the ancient world. They didn't have an army, they didn't have a navy. They had a navy, they had a merchant marine navy. But they were the traders, and you don't want to mess with the traders. Not because they're big and they're bad, but they're supplying you with the things you need. So slowly but surely, academia is changing their attitude on some of that stuff. Inevitably, and this is where it started, and we go through this right up through the 1800s, the idea of divine right. Who made divine right? Who made you God? Who made you king? God made me king. Of course, this really gets amplified when we get into Europe, especially the Middle Ages, because you're not going to take the throne unless the church recognizes it. We don't see a lot of that anymore. There's some states that still believe it. We are going to see a growing reference to religion. big deal. This is when we really start seeing writing. Take a guess at what the most ancient writing we would have.
What they were, or
Yeah, what they died. God, storytellers, what are they? Accounting. That's what most of them are. Most of the early writings we have are books. Sam owes Joe $50 for this load of hay that he got. Marcus owes the state 14 bales of hay and taxes. That's what almost all the writings are. Even when we look at places like the Andes, Machu Picchu, places like that, we thought they didn't have any kind of written language or accounting. We kept finding these strings with knots. We're trying to figure out those knots for who. Hey, let's put it this way. We hope they are. Here's one of the things about writing. Writing people to read. Scribes, people who could read and write, really moved up on the social level. We don't have to go very far back in modern society to find some civilizations, some cultures that were pretty much illiterate, and a really good job was letter writing. I'd sit down in my house and somebody would come to me and say, I want to write a letter to my Aunt Susan, the next town over, and you would write the letter, they would tell you what you wanted it, you'd write the letter, and they pay you. But when you're getting in areas where almost everybody's illiterate, whoa, and you can keep the books, you know more about the kingdom than the king does. So literacy was really a skyrocket ride to the top. Of course, you had to learn how to do that. And quite frequently, it wasn't easy to find somebody to teach you how to do that. So writing conveyed status to those who could write. Allowed some upward mobility. It was a way for commoners to be able to read. And it was also a good means of propaganda. We study especially Egypt. Oh man! Practically everything we find carved on those temples and everything is propaganda. Poets in here, anybody loves poetry. Nobody in my day owns. I have a modern poetry anymore. It's just like, what do you want? This stuff today is blank verse poetry. And, well, what's your talent? I'm sorry, but appreciate it. I love romantics, especially Coleridge and those guys. But the young romantics, especially three of them, were Byron and Shelley Keats. And Keats wrote one of the neatest poems I have ever read. It's called Ozymandias. Anybody familiar with it? I met a traveler from a far off land who said, two vast trunkless legs in the desert. He's talking about this huge, immense statue. But they're vast trunkless And then he talks about the basics, got this computer on. And then he talks about the insertion. He says, look upon my works, ye lesser men, and read. And of course, the last one. No, it's not just jump. But the reason I bring it up is because that was propaganda. You know, we look at some of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Well, weren't the pyramids propaganda? Yeah, I saw a t-shirt one time that said, the guy that has the most toys when he wins, or when he dies, wins. Okay, you see it that way. A lot of people do. But, you know, my tomb's bigger than yours is. Propaganda. Some of them weren't. The hanging gardens and Nebuchadnezzar, Lucifer's wife. That's true. How about things like the Colossus of Rhodes? That was that statue in the harbor with the torch that was really kind of a lighthouse. There's also a lighthouse. Lighthouse in Alexandria. Isn't that a way of saying, look how great our civilization is? Now, if I can write, I can do it in detail. And when we start looking at a lot of the ancient writings, it is probably some king, dictator, whatever, has had somebody write it for him because he couldn't write it himself. But it's, oh, look at the great battles I've won. Look at all of the land I've acquired. Yada, yada, yada. So a lot of the early writing we find is propaganda. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Another thing we found is handy for is keeping calendars. Why is that important?
Crops,
Exactly. Another thing we find is we can write down laws. You know, one of the things that if I'm going to retain power, and there are a lot of people who are not sure why I should be powerful, one of the things that they need to at least believe in is that I'm going to give them a fair shake. And if laws are just oral, like they have been forever, if I write them down, then they can't be changed around. And when we look at some of the things that we celebrate, Nebuchadnezzar that I just mentioned, he wrote down a code. Hammurabi was another guy that wrote down. It wasn't both of them were really harsh. You know, swap the bill of rights for these guys. But theoretically, at least, everybody stood equal when it came time for punishment. That may well have been the basis for our system of jurisprudence today. You ever been in a lawyer's office? What's in them?
show books.
What's in them?
Law books.
Yeah, but what's in law books?
Ooh, laws.
No. No, not laws. Cases. Because our laws, our legal system, our system of jurisprudence today is primarily based upon precedent. And arguably, that precedent goes all the way back down to those first written laws. If you remember the last 2, 3, 4, they're all churches and services now. When justices were in front of the Congress for confirmation. And one of the things they're always asked is, are you going to legislate from the bench? Do you honor precedent? Because one of the things that our country is based on is a thing called judicial review, and sometimes old laws get overturned. In 1896, there was a court case called Plessy versus Ferguson. It was all about a train ride, segregation. And the court ruled that segregation was legal as long as the facilities were equal. That's where we get the term separate but equal.
Yeah, but in that current era, there was anything but people.
Well, that's true. I mean,
Yeah,
well,
that
interestingly enough, when we get up to 1954 and Brown v. Board, which overturned that law, demanding integration in public schools, the opinion stated that there was, if facilities were separate, they were inherently equal. But that law, because of precedent, had stood for 50 years.
What does that also have to do with the incident at Little Rock?
Well, let's not go there. You're going to open up late U.S. history. We ain't got that. Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Overflows.
Little Rock. Oh, Eisenhower was during this incident.
Yeah, the National Guard. That's the word Writing also did some things that were beyond the scope of the state. All of a sudden, we got ready to preserve the ideas of literature, philosophy, astronomy. You mentioned that some of the early things we see are starting to shadow work. Math, history. Oh, yeah. Now all of a sudden, we don't have to have some guy hanging around and getting fed professors just because he's memorizing our whole history. We can run it down the books. Kings had it pretty good. They not only were the state authority, but they also were the symbol of state authority. See the difference? They have the authority, but besides that, to their subjects, they were the state. They usually lived pretty good. Had huge monumental residences. Yeah, kind of like that one down on 30. 70. Hmm? Yeah. Of course, as I said, I mean, you can recognize them, they dress elaborate. This goes on. Well, it can be argued that in some cases it still goes on. Karzai, he always wears, that string. He always wears that mantle. When I first saw him, I thought he was just gold. Found that it's a symbol of his authority. But for the most part, we do. They're not complete. Burials? No, I died, I take me
show me in.
Pharaoh dies. So, hierarchy is becoming more and more important in these civilizations. And of course, the guys at the top, if they did it right, if they were good rulers, and a lot of them were, it was because they were good at negotiating trade, they were good at winning battles, they were good at all these things, they were good at organization. All the things that we found to be necessary when we started getting into civilization. And people wanted them there. I don't know about you guys, this last election, I looked at McCain and Obama and I said, I'm not sure what either one of them, they gotta be crazy. Nobody but a crazy person would want that job. If they're bad rulers, they still got an army, still got police force. So either way, they're going to stay at the top of the heap. Until somebody else comes along. Usually the good rulers, and an awful lot of times the bad rulers, they rule until their deaths. Now, later on, especially in the Roman Empire, it became more and more popular idea to help that death along a little bit, you know. Start with Caesar. Start with Julius Caesar. But we are, right now, mired in the middle of our first civilizations. And when we come back, we are going to take a look at how two civilizations, because of their environment, their original culture, their climate, all these things are going to come out different. We're going to look at the civilizations in Mesopotamia, we're going to look at the civilizations in Egypt. Throw them together, compare them, and see what they come up with. Any questions? I'm going to take off. I will see you on Wednesday.